Good morning on Good Friday 2021, April the 2nd. It was on the Friday that they ended it all. Of course, they didn't do it one by one. They weren't brave enough. All the stones at the one time, or no stones thrown at all. They did it in crowds where you can feel safe, where you can lose yourself, where you can shout things you would never shout on your own and do things you would never do. It was a crowd in the church that did it, and a crowd in the civil service that did it, and a crowd in the street that did it, and a crowd on the hill that did it. And he said nothing. He took the insults, the bruises, the spit on his face, the thongs on his back, the curses in his ears. He took the sight of his friends turning away, running away. He said nothing. He let them do their worst until their worst was done. As on Friday they ended it all and would have finished themselves had he not cried, "Father, forgive them." And so began the revolution. I have been, as you know, many of you, to the Holy Land just a couple of years ago now. And I, in keeping with many pilgrims, walk the Via Dolorosa. I suppose what I hadn't realised, of course, now it's got shops and things lining it, but I didn't realise how steep it was. It's now stepped. Whether it was then, I have no idea. There are walls both sides, and it's really quite steep, and it made me realise just what a task it would have been to carry that cross up there to the hill above the town. It's a fair old walk, and that's without having been beaten and injured. And part way up, there's a point where Jesus stopped and apparently leant against the wall, and over the years millions of people have touched that place. I've touched that place, and it made me weep, even if it's not an entirely accurate positioning or anything. The fact that so many millions of people were moved to touch it was a really, really important thing for me. And I wonder if we've ever really wondered about Simon of Cyrene to any degree. He was, of course, told to carry the cross. This is a meditation on him. He was tired, just about dead on his feet, and it wasn't just due to that cross he was carrying. No, that was the easy bit. It was the load he still had to bear that was getting to him. Oh, the cross was heavy, don't get me wrong. If anyone knows that, it's me. And the beating he'd taken was enough to break any man, even the strongest of us. Yet I still say there was more to it, far more. You only had to look in his eyes, as I did, and see the agony there. An agony not of body, but of soul, not of flesh, but of spirit. He was used to the physical pain by then, ready for anything they might throw at him. So when they hammered the nails into his hands and his feet, when they hauled the cross into position, despite turning down the wine and myrrh they offered him, he scarcely flinched. He barely gave them the satisfaction of a groan. He was suffering, no question, suffering more deeply and more hellishly than I'd imagined possible. It was as though a light went out within, as though he were being crushed by some extraordinary weight, as though he were enduring such torment that physical pain seemed trivial by comparison. I was mystified at first, unable to imagine what could be more terrible than crucifixion. But then, just before he died, he looked up, and the eyes were bright, and the face radiant, and signs of pain vanished. "It is finished!" he shouted. And I understood then that he'd carried a burden beyond all imagining. Almost, you might say, the weight of the world on his shoulders. And at last, having been faithful to the end, he could put it down, knowing that the struggle was over, the job done, the mission accomplished. Love so amazing, so divine, demands my soul, my life, my all. I'll see you at 6:30 this evening for our Good Friday worship.